What if everything you knew about corporate takeovers was wrong? Picture this: a struggling airline drowning in nearly €500 million of debt, yet possessing something priceless: exclusive access to an entire continent's airspace. Europe's aviation titans circled like vultures, each one failing spectacularly. Then, against all odds, an outsider swooped in with what seemed like pocket change and walked away with a prize everyone else could untouch. This is the story of how Turkish Airlines accomplished what British Airways, Lufthansa and Air France couldn't, penetrating Europe's fortress-like aviation market. Before we dive into this extraordinary tale of strategy and ambition, make sure you're subscribed to the World Documentaries and hit that like button. You're about to witness how one airline rewrote the rules of international aviation. And trust me, the implications will change how you see global business forever. The crown jewel nobody could afford, Air Europa, wasn't just another carrier struggling through turbulent times. This Spanish airline held something that money alone couldn't buy: an unparalleled gateway connecting to economic powerhouses. Based at Madrid's Barajas airport, Air Europa operated 22 vital routes stretching across Latin America, a network painstakingly built over 30 years of operations. For any airline dreaming of true global dominance, controlling this corridor wasn't optional, it was absolutely essential to their survival and expansion plans. Think about the geography for a moment. Madrid sits perfectly positioned as Europe's southwestern anchor, making it the natural bridge between Brussels and Buenos Aires. Between Lisbon and Lima, Air Europa's route network represented decades of hard-won traffic rights, airport slots, and customer relationships that simply couldn't be replicated overnight. This wasn't just valuable. This was irreplaceable infrastructure in an industry where access means everything and competition for prime routes remains cutthroat when survival meets opportunity. The pandemic transformed Air Europa from a strategic asset into a desperate seller almost overnight. In November 2020, the Spanish government stepped in with a lifeline worth €475 million, preventing total collapse but creating a crushing burden of governmental debt. The airline found itself trapped in a cruel paradox, possessing immense strategic value while simultaneously suffocating under financial obligations that demanded immediate resolution and threatened long-term viability. Air Europa's owners, the proud Hidalgo family who founded the carrier, faced an impossible choice. They needed substantial capital injection to repay Madrid and secure their airline's future, but they refused to simply surrender their life's work to corporate predators. The graveyard of European giants International Airlines Group made the first move in 2019, announcing a massive €1 billion takeover bid that seemed unstoppable. As the parent company of both British Airways and Spain's flagship carrier Iberia, IAG envisioned creating an unbeatable Spanish aviation monopoly. Their plan was straightforward: merge the country's two largest airlines and dominate every major route, eliminating meaningful competition and controlling nearly half of Spain's entire aviation market in one decisive stroke. But the European Commission saw through this strategy immediately. Regulators calculated that a combined Iberia-Air Europa entity would control a staggering 49 out of Air Europa's 59 routes, an absolute death sentence for market competition. Desperate to salvage their bid, IAG offered to surrender 52% of Air Europa's routes to rival carriers, essentially gutting the very asset they were trying to acquire. Even this extraordinary concession proved insufficient. By August 2024, IAG walked away humiliated, paying a €50 million breakup fee for their failure. When big money isn't enough, with IAG's spectacular failure fresh in everyone's minds, Lufthansa and Air France KLM stepped into the ring with confidence. Both aviation giants possessed deep pockets, global networks, and decades of merger experience. Surely they could succeed where others had stumbled. They entered negotiations convinced their financial strength and operational expertise would prove irresistible. Yet they were about to learn an expensive lesson about the difference between corporate power and strategic intelligence. Both carriers made the same fundamental miscalculation that doomed IAG. They approached negotiations demanding a clear pathway to eventual full control, viewing the Hidalgo family's airline as just another acquisition target to be absorbed into their massive corporate structures. They could uncomprehend that the Hidalgos were uninterested in selling their legacy. They needed a genuine partner who respected their independence. Combined with lowball offers that grossly undervalued Air Europa's strategic importance, both giants created unbridgeable gaps in negotiations and ultimately walked away empty-handed, leaving industry observers stunned. The fortress wall that became a gateway. Here's where Turkish Airlines demonstrated genuine brilliance. While European carriers battered themselves against regulatory barriers, the Turkish team studied the very rules designed to exclude them and discovered something remarkable. EU Regulation 1008/2008 states that any airline operating within European airspace must be majority-owned and effectively controlled by EU nationals. A fortress wall, protecting the European aviation market from foreign takeover attempts and maintaining continental control. Most airlines viewed this regulation as an insurmountable obstacle to expansion. Turkish Airlines recognized it as their secret weapon, while Lufthansa and Air France KLM fought for control levels that were legally problematic and personally unacceptable to Air Europa's owners. Turkish Airlines proposed something radically different. They offered a minority stake of just 25 to 27%, comfortably below legal thresholds, structured primarily as convertible debt that provided immediate cash while delaying full share conversion, demonstrating patience and respect for Air Europa's independence. The partnership that changed everything. The genius of Turkish Airlines' approach lay in their messaging as much as their money. They publicly declared having no current plans to increase their stake beyond the initial minority position. This wasn't mere corporate diplomacy, it was a binding promise guaranteed by EU law itself. Because Turkish Airlines operates as a non-EU carrier, regulations physically prevent them from ever seizing full control, regardless of their intentions or financial capacity. This single fact gave the Hidalgo family something no European rival could offer: absolute certainty that their family airline would remain their own. The €300 million investment provided desperately needed capital to repay government loans and modernize operations, while the partnership unlocked Turkish Airlines' massive global network without sacrificing Air Europa's independence. The fortress wall designed to keep foreign carriers out became the very mechanism that made this foreign investment irresistible, a strategic judo move that turned regulatory strength against itself, building bridges across continents. This deal transcends simple financial investment. It represents calculated geopolitical strategy addressing Turkish Airlines' most glaring weakness. Despite serving more countries than any other airline on Earth, an impressive 131 destinations, they maintained a significant blind spot: Latin America. The Air Europa partnership closes that gap instantly, creating a powerful transcontinental bridge connecting Istanbul's mega hub with Madrid's Latin American gateway, extending their hub-and-spoke model across the Atlantic Ocean. Consider the operational transformation. Passengers from anywhere within Turkish Airlines' vast eastern network from Tokyo to Tehran, from Cairo to Delican, now flows seamlessly through both Istanbul and Madrid before continuing to Air Europa's 22 Latin American destinations. This creates entirely new traffic flows and revenue streams impossible to achieve independently. The deal even includes provisions for Turkish Airlines to lease up to 30 long-haul aircraft to Air Europa, modernizing their fleet while strengthening the Istanbul-Madrid corridor and providing productive deployment for Turkish Airlines' massive aircraft orders. The New World Order. The implications of this deal ripple far beyond two airlines. Air Europa remains a SkyTeam Alliance member while partnering strategically with Turkish Airlines from rival Star Alliance, and IAG from One World Alliance still owns 20%. You now have one airline where three competing global blocs simultaneously hold influence, shattering traditional alliance structures and suggesting a future of more fluid, pragmatic relationships driven by pure commercial logic rather than rigid institutional loyalty. Turkish Airlines may have just written the playbook for how powerful airlines from the Gulf, Asia, or other regions can penetrate Europe's protected aviation market, while full acquisition remains blocked by regulation. Non-controlling minority partnerships offering capital and connectivity without demanding control could prove irresistible to struggling European carriers. This template could unleash unprecedented foreign investment waves, fundamentally challenging the dominance of Europe's traditional Big Three and reshaping the continent's skies for generations to come. So what do you think? Is this brilliant partnership model the future of global aviation, or does it represent a dangerous precedent that undermines European control? Turkish Airlines proved that sometimes the smartest strategy is fighting the rules but understanding them deeply enough to make them work in your favor. This deal demonstrates how creativity, cultural sensitivity, and strategic patience can triumph over raw financial power and corporate might. Thank you for joining us on The World Documentaries for this deep dive into one of aviation's most fascinating strategic victories. If you found this story as compelling as we did, smash that like button, subscribe to our channel for more extraordinary business stories, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next investigation. Most importantly, share your perspective in the comments below. Do you see this as cooperation or conquest? We read every comment and love hearing your insights. Until next time, keep questioning how the world really works.